Hello, and welcome to The Long View. Today, we're embarking on a rather unusual journey. We're going to deconstruct a piece of media that doesn't actually exist. I know, it sounds strange, but I recently came across an extraordinary summary and analysis of a hypothetical video. This document was so insightful, so beautifully woven, that it deserved to be brought to life. It outlines a historical exploration that connects for seemingly disparate subjects: the ritualized life of a Japanese concubine, the sacred role of sexuality in ancient civilizations, the silent art of political poisoning, and the intricate history of locks and keys. What connects these threads? The document argues, and I agree, that they are all engines of history running just beneath the surface. They are stories of power, but a power that is often silent, unseen, and embodied. Its power found not on the battlefield, but in the quiet room, not in the decree of a king, but in a subtle glance, a secret formula, a sacred act, or a humble piece of metal. Over the next couple of hours, we are going to use this brilliant analysis as our map. We will unpack each of these four worlds, not just to understand what happened, but to explore why it matters. We'll delve into the psychology, the politics, and the philosophy behind these ancient practices. Our journey has four parts. First, we'll step into the gilded cage of feudal Japan and the world of the concubine. Then, we will travel back further, across cultures, to rediscover sexuality not as a taboo, but as a sacred and cosmic force. From there, the mood will darken as we uncap the vial of the political poisoner. And finally, we will examine the humble lock and key and see it for what it truly is: a powerful symbol of civilization itself. So, get comfortable. This is a deep dive. Let's begin with a world of silk, silence, and strategy. Our first stop is feudal Japan. In the Joku, the women's quarters of the daimyo's castle. The summary we're working from describes the concubine's life as a carefully choreographed performance. But let's break that down. What does that performance actually entail? It begins before dawn. It begins not with a grand gesture, but with 1,000 tiny, grueling ones. Imagine the process: the polishing of the skin with a rough cloth until it glows, the application of oshiroi, the thick, white rice powder foundation. It's not makeup as we know it, it is a mask of serene, inhuman perfection. It erases the individual, the tired woman underneath, and replaces her with an ideal. The red lips, painted smaller than their natural shape. The blackened teeth ohaguro, a symbol of beauty and marital fidelity. Every step is a denial of the self and an embrace of a role. Then comes the costume. The Jaina hito, or 12-layered robe, is a misnomer. It could be more, it could be less, but the principle is the same. Layer upon layer of silk, each with a specific color and meaning, dictated by the season, the occasion, the wearer's rank. We're talking about up to 20 kilograms, or 44 pounds, of fabric. This isn't clothing for action. It's clothing for stillness. It forces a slow, gliding walk. It makes turning a deliberate, sweeping gesture. It physically enforces the very qualities prized in the court: grace, restraint, and control. The key insight from our source document calls this embodied performance as power. This is what it means. Power isn't seized, it's worn. It's performed in every managed breath, every slow turn of the head. And then, after hours of this preparation, comes the true test: waiting. The summary highlights the complex social game of waiting. This isn't passive, It's an active, strategic state. The concubines are arranged in a room, waiting to be chosen by the daimyo for the night. They are on display, not just for him, but for each other. This is where the silent rivalries, another key point from our analysis, come to life. Power here is not about speaking. It's about who has the most perfect posture after 5 hours of sitting. Says It's about whose kimono has the most artistically chosen color combination. A rival might be complimented on a poem she wrote, a compliment that is just a little too effusive, hinting that she spends more time on academics than on her appearance. A dropped fan could be an accident, or it could be a calculated move to draw the Lord's eye. The analysis calls this navigating patriarchal systems. These women have no formal authority. They can't pass laws or lead armies. Their influence is indirect, channeled through the daimyo. Their entire world is a competition for proximity to power. And in this world, their weapons are grace, patience, poetry, and a deep understanding of human psychology. Their survival depends on mastering perception. They must be beautiful, but not threatening, intelligent, but not overtly ambitious, serene, but never, ever boring. It's a life of profound dualities, immense luxury and rigid confinement, exquisite beauty and physical suffering, apparent idleness and intense psychological labor. The concubine's life shows us that power can be a currency of pure presence, a slow, patient, and exhausting performance that shapes the course of politics. From the quietest room in the castle, from the silent, restrained world of feudal Japan, we now cast our net wide and travel deep into the past, to explore a concept that our modern world often struggles with: sacred sexuality. Our source document challenges us to defy modern assumptions that sex is purely personal, profane, or shameful. It asks us to see it as ancient cultures did, as a religious, political, and cosmic function. Let's begin in Babylon. The analysis mentions temple ceremonies invoking fertility. This refers to the practice often, and perhaps sensationally, called sacred prostitution. While historians debate the details, the core idea was that the union of a priestess or devotee with a stranger in the temple of a goddess like Ishtar was not a simple transaction. It was a ritual enactment of the sacred marriage, the hieros gamos. This act wasn't for personal pleasure. It was a cosmic duty. It was believed to ensure the fertility of the land, the health of the community, and the favor of the gods. The body became an altar, the act a prayer. The Greeks and Romans took this in a different direction. Think of the Dionysian mysteries. These were not public temple ceremonies, but secret, ecstatic rituals. Participants sought to achieve enthusiasmos, literally, to have a god within. Through wine, dance, and uninhibited sexual expression, they aimed to dissolve their individual egos and merge with the divine. The analysis rightly points out this was about divine union and transformation. It was a technology of the soul, using the body's most powerful drives to break through the veil of ordinary reality. And then there is India. Our source mentions Tantra, and this is perhaps the most sophisticated and philosophical expression of sacred sexuality. The key insight here is the fusion of body, ritual, and power. In Tantra, the universe is born from the interplay of two cosmic forces: Shiva, pure consciousness, and Shakti, divine energy or the creative principle. Every human being contains both. The goal of tantric practice, including sexual rituals known as mathuna, is not ordinary release. It is to consciously unite these forces within oneself. through breath control, mantras, and a highly ritualized, meditative form of lovemaking. The practitioners aim to sublimate their sexual energy upwards through the chakras, culminating in a state of enlightened consciousness. It's a radical idea that the most intense physical pleasure, when harnessed with intention and discipline, can be a direct path to spiritual liberation. It treats the body not as a source of sin, but as a microcosm of the entire universe, a divine instrument. From Babylon to Rome to India, we see a consistent theme. Sexuality was too powerful to be left to chance. It had to be ritualized, contextualized, and given meaning. It could secure the state, commune with the gods, or unlock the secrets of the cosmos. The body, in these worldviews, was not an obstacle to be overcome. It was the sacred engine through which the work of civilization and spirituality was done. We've explored power through performance and power through sacred ritual. Now we turn to a darker, more insidious form of influence. A power that works not in the open, but in the shadows. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. We're talking about the art and science of poison. The summary describes poison as a method of silent, strategic elimination. This is key. A sword is loud. An army is visible. But poison, poison is intimate. It's a weapon of betrayal. It is most often administered by someone you trust. A wife, a son, a food taster, a physician. The analysis calls it a weapon of statecraft and psychological terror, and this is a crucial insight. The threat of poison was often more powerful than the poison itself. It created a pervasive atmosphere of paranoia that could paralyze a royal court. Rulers became obsessed. Who could they trust? Was the fruit from their own garden safe? Was the wine a gift or a death sentence? This paranoia had real political consequences. It led to the rise of the official food taster, a position of both immense trust and terrifying risk. It fueled purges and executions based on mere suspicion. It isolated rulers, turning them into prisoners in their own palaces. Let's look at the examples. The summary mentions Locusta, the infamous poisoner in 1st century Rome. She wasn't just some Bacchus dealer. She was an instrument of the state. The Empress Agrippina allegedly hired her to assassinate the Emperor Claudius with a dish of poisoned mushrooms, clearing the way for her son, Nero, to take the throne. Nero, in turn, kept Locusta on a state salary, using her to eliminate his own rivals, including his stepbrother Britannicus. She was, in essence, the head of an imperial assassination bureau. Her existence was an open secret, a constant, silent reminder of the emperor's ultimate power. In China, we have Empress LZ of the Han Dynasty. After her husband's death, she ruthlessly eliminated her rivals. Her most infamous act was against her rival, concubine Qi. She had Qi's limbs cut off, her eyes gouged out, her ears deafened, and forced her to drink a potion that made her mute. She then threw her into a latrine and called her the human swine. This is beyond assassination. This is poison and mutilation used as political theater, horrifying spectacle designed to terrorize anyone who might dare to challenge her authority. The history of poison is the history of chemistry and botany, intertwined with the history of human ambition and fear. It required sophisticated knowledge of plants, animals, and minerals. It was a science, but it was also an art, the art of delivery, of dosage, of timing. A slow-acting poison could make a death look natural. A fast-acting one could send a clear, terrifying message. Poison represents the ultimate violation of trust. It turns nourishment into death, medicine into murder, and intimacy into a weapon. It is the invisible hand of power, shaping empires not through conquest, but through a single, silent drop. We've explored the protection of the body from within through poison and its antidotes. Now, let's turn to the protection of our world. From without, we are going to examine an object so common, so mundane, that we barely notice it. The lock. Our source document presents a fascinating history of locks, not just as tools, but as cultural artifacts embodying authority, identity, privacy, and social order. It starts, as so many things do, in ancient Egypt around 4,000 years ago. The first known mechanical lock was a wooden pin-tumbler lock. It was huge. The keys were sometimes the size of a forearm. But the principle is genius, and it's the direct ancestor of the locks on most of our doors today. A set of pins inside the lock falls into a bolt, securing it. The key has a corresponding pattern of pegs that, when inserted, lifts the pins to the correct height, allowing the bolt to be withdrawn. But think about what this object means. A lock doesn't just secure a door, it creates a new idea, a private, protected space. It draws a physical line between mine and yours. It's a statement of ownership and authority. The person with the key has legitimate access. The person without it does not. This is a fundamental building block of social order, of property, and of law. The Romans, masters of engineering, miniaturized and perfected the lock. They made them from metal, created portable padlocks, and even invented warded locks, where the key has to pass a series of obstacles to work. Keys became status symbols. Wealthy Romans would wear them as rings on their fingers, not for convenience, but to publicly display their authority and the fact that they had valuable things worth protecting. The key wasn't just a tool. It was a piece of jewelry broadcasting power. In the East, as the summary notes, locks became even more symbolic. Chinese locks were often works of art, shaped like fish, a symbol of watchfulness, as they never close. Their eyes are dragons. They incorporated spiritual symbolism and clever camouflage. Some were puzzle locks, requiring a secret sequence of moves to open. Here, the lock is not just a barrier. It's a test of knowledge, a guardian imbued with spiritual power. The analysis makes a brilliant point about the constant cat-and-mouse game between security and intrusion. As soon as the first lock was made, the first lockpicker was born. The history of security is a history of this jewel. The Roman locksmith improved the wards. The Roman thief developed more sophisticated picks. The medieval artisan created complex mechanisms. The clever burglar studied them. This brings us to a profound modern analogy, also highlighted in the source: cybersecurity. The Egyptian pin-tumbler lock is the ancestor of our password. The Roman warded lock is a primitive form of multi-factor authentication. The lockpicker is the hacker, the universal desire to protect what matters: our possessions, our secrets. Our identity has driven this technological and social evolution for millennia. A lock is never just a piece of metal. It is a social contract, a psychological boundary, and a marker of civilization. It's a silent guardian that tells a story of what we value and how we choose to protect it. So, where has our journey taken us? We have walked the silent halls of the Joku. We have participated in sacred rites in Babylon and India. We have peered into the poisoner's vial in Rome, and we have turned the key in an ancient Egyptian lock, a concubine's robe, a sacred ritual a drop of poison, a metal key. On the surface, they have nothing in common. But the brilliant analysis that prompted this exploration reveals the deep, resonant connections between them. Each one is about the negotiation of power in spaces where conventional power is absent or insufficient. Each one reveals how the human body can become the central axis for political strategy, spiritual transcendence, and social control. Each one highlights the eternal tension between the seen and the unseen, the public performance and the secret knowledge. The concubine's power was in her visible, ritualized silence. The poisoner's power was in their invisible, hidden action. The sacred ritual harnessed the most visible aspects of human life for an unseen spiritual goal. The lock uses a visible physical barrier to protect an unseen conceptual space called privacy or property. These practices remind us that history is not just a grand narrative of kings and battles. It is a rich, complex tapestry woven from these quieter, more intimate threads. They show us how human societies have always used ritual, aesthetics, technology, and psychology to define who they are, what they value, and how they protect it. The final, concluding reflection from our source document says it best. Power often resides in the unseen. The endurance of a concubine, the ecstasy of a ritual, the fear of poison, the trust in a lockthese are the invisible forces, the silent engines that have shaped our world and continue to shape it today. They remind us to look past the obvious, to listen to the silence, and to appreciate the profound meaning hidden in the most unexpected corners of our shared human story.